Roberta Jacobson is a former U.S. ambassador to Mexico, and she wrote a piece for the New York Times about what Trump and corruption is costing us. Now, not just in terms of money, but in terms of respect for the United States, in terms of seeing the United States as a country that would keep its word, as a country that welcomes immigrants, because after the white Europeans who stole this country from the native people, then we had several periods where we restricted immigration to certain national groups or ethnic groups or racial groups, whatever you want to call it. But the country has been founded the country has grown because of immigration, morally, spiritually, physically, economically, financially, in terms of inventions, education, because of immigration. Like I say, after we decimated the population that was here first, and after we enslaved the population that we brought over from Africa, then we decided, okay, what the hell. So now here we are in the year 2019, and immigration is the lifeblood it should be the lifeblood of most countries. Now, unlimited immigration, well, you have to stop and think that so many of the immigrants who are on the run from war and death and disaster and climate change are people who lived in countries that were totally exploited by the colonialists, the European colonialists, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the English, the French, the Dutch. They're the ones who set up the insanity and caused the conflicts here 300 years later, 200 years later, that are still going on. Don't go that far afield, Mike. Come back to what you were talking about. Okay. Watching the scandal about Ukraine unfold, Miss Jacobson writes, I thought often about my former colleagues as United States, my former colleague, United States Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch. She's the one that gave a deposition today. An experienced, thoughtful, and effective senior officer, she had made remarks about corruption that put her in the crosshairs of the Ukrainian government, to which she was accredited, and was quickly removed from her post. On Friday, in an opening statement for congressional impeachment investigators, she denied having done anything wrong. She referred to Rudy Giuliani, the Bat, Trump's personal lawyer. She said that people associated with him, quote, may well have believed that their personal financial ambitions were stymied by our anti-corruption policy in Ukraine, end quote. Now, she doesn't mean Trump's anti-corruption Ukraine. She means the Obama anti-corruption in Ukraine, and probably the George W. Bush anti-corruption policy in Ukraine. Trump wants corruption everywhere. That's what he eats. He eats corruption. He feasts on it. He feeds on it. It makes him fatter and wealthier. Trump loves corruption. Ms. Jacobson writes, in my own public remarks as an ambassador to Mexican senators in 2016, I focused on corruption in the country. Building on widespread public sentiment in elections that year, I did not think this was out of bounds either for my government, since anti-corruption has been a core American value for years. Don't laugh. Or for Mexico. I was simply saying what so many Mexicans had told their compatriots and the press, yet it caused a stir, what she said, what Ms. Jacobson said. Not only because I spoke in the wake of delays that had slowed the legislature's passage of a sweeping anti-corruption package, but because the next day the Mexican press was filled with side-by-side reports on real estate gifts to Mexico's First Lady. After that speech, I faced a brief but distinct frostiness from the presidential palace in Mexico City. But my case ended differently. I never doubted the support of my own government for what I had said and for being a champion of Mexicans who had an anti-corruption agenda. In the Ukraine case, by contrast, Ms. Jacobson writes, Ambassador Yovanovitch not only lost her post, she endured a smear campaign by the executive branch, or as I would put it, by this bastard Trump and his favorite little Batman, Rudy Giuliani. What we are learning every day about Ukraine, on a par with what we hear President Trump say on the White House lawn about China, is a radical break from bipartisan support for how we deal with other nations. In addition to presidential abuses of power by you-know-who, we are witnessing the quiet death of a policy against corruption and for the rule of law that for nearly 3 decades was among America's most important objectives abroad. This is the point Ambassador Jacobson, or former Ambassador Jacobson, is trying to make. What Trump and corruption are costing us. And by us, she doesn't just mean Americans. Trump is setting the bar so low. He's such a corrupt, filthy, criminal son of a bitch. How, even with future administrations, how can the United States possibly try to lead by saying we are anti-corrupt? Now, I know. I hear the cynics out there going, okay, come on, Malloy. This country's always been corrupt. Well, capitalism has always been corrupt. And capitalism has been the handmaiden of democracy that we've always tried to export to other countries, whether they wanted it or not. And sometimes we would export it under the barrel of a gun. I understand that. But to talk about, for example, human rights, for the United States to admonish other countries about their human rights record, when we, under George W. Bush and the filthy pig Dick Cheney, made as part of American policy torture, and rendition, where we kidnap people and send them to other countries for torture. The United States, under Bush and Trump, has pretty much lost whatever moral authority we thought we had. The rest of the world now looks at the United States and says, are you fucking kidding me? You had as president a war criminal who did the same thing in Iraq that Hitler did in Czechoslovakia, Poland, Austria. Same thing. Just fucking invaded. No declaration of war, no reason. Oh, that's right. The Polish cavalry had attacked some of the German tanks. Are you shitting me? But we had a president, George W. Bush, who did exactly the same thing that Hitler did. Exactly. Where it concerned invading other countries. What Justice Robert Jackson, I said this yesterday, I know, called the worst war crime because it encapsulates all other war crimes within it. The unprovoked invasion and subsequent slaughter of the civilian population of another country. So for the United States to try now to lead or admonish other countries because of their human rights record or their corruption record is just, I don't know. I don't know how we can do it until we have a couple of presidential administrations who prove that corruption is not part of our part of our attitude, or that human rights is a part of our attitude. I don't know if that can ever be gotten back.
Greetings, truth seekers. It's that time of year again. Time to help your humble and obedient podcaster keep it lit by keeping the lights on in the Malloy studio with a podcast pledge drive. All October, we are giving away freebies, goodies, and gifts as thank yous for subscribing or renewing your Malloy podcast at the Trump recession level reduced price of $49 a year. It's a different giveaway each week, truth seekers. Everything from an autographed copy of Mike's book, Colored Ice Cream, to my holiday baked goods. Already have a Malloy podcast? Well, it makes a great gift. And remember, podcast subscribers also get exclusive access to the weekend bonus shows, which might be hosted by Mike or by me. We even have a teen show coming up featuring Molly and her friends. Just visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe or renew today. Keep it lit.